All right, let's get back into the general news. Now, we've talked a little about, Kubernetes. Kubernetes news. I don't have a whole lot because guess what's going on? What is it called? KubeCon. KubeCon, sorry. Words in the morning sometimes escape me. KubeCon's going on. And generally, people hold out Kubernetes news until KubeCon, and they kind of release their news. That's like their big release date. So KubeCon's going on, and so we'll probably have a section of things after KubeCon to go over. Like, it will probably be its own long section there. But really, there was only one thing that I saw, and we're just going to cover that in the general news because, yeah, it wasn't worth having it in its own little section like we normally do. Jupyter crafts Contrail into Kubernetes native. So Contrail native, Cloud Native 2, Contrail Native 2. Anyways, it's a CNI plugin, and it's basically for phone providers, carriers, and those. So it's basically going to help CNI or its goal is to help providers like that. Telecom is the word I was looking for. I had to actually see it. I couldn't think about it. Telecom to move their infrastructure and things into Kubernetes and make that easier, because telecom really have very specific needs on their network, so it's a very difficult thing for them to even change as well. So anyways, it was interesting. I haven't ever used it. I don't even know if it's open source. Just saw that it existed. Return to Office is a disaster. This is something I wanted to talk about. The magic of Docker Desktop is now available on Linux. I feel like this title was asking to be made fun of. The magic of Docker Desktop. I don't know what magic Docker Desktop brings. I don't actually understand this statement. I've been able to run containers on my Linux system since forever. If they mean a UI around that, I guess that's fine. And I don't actually hate on Docker. I think that they've done amazing, fantastic things. And they actually bring magic to the Mac and Windows, specifically the Mac. Windows actually has Linux running on it. It's not as magic on Windows, but it's magic on Mac, because Mac is not a real OS. It doesn't have all the features that you would expect from an OS. And because of that, it's actually magical that they get containers, and not only that, Kubernetes running on the Mac. It's actually fantastic, and I actually highly recommend it if people want to run Kubernetes on their Mac to play around with and learn. It's actually my recommended way of doing it. So I don't hate on Docker. This is not me hating on Docker. But what does Docker Desktop for Mac really, or for Linux, really mean? I actually read this trying to understand what it was. It was a popular issue on Docker's roadmap. I don't know of a Linux user that actually wanted this, but it was actually a popular issue. It does bring a unified Docker experience, if that's something that you need. It also brings a unified Kubernetes integration. So if you're using the Kubernetes for the Mac, sorry, my Mac sits back here. If you're using the Kubernetes on that and you want to do it that same thing on Linux, now, generally, what I find is I don't want the Kubernetes that my Mac runs. I want Kind, I want kubeadm, I want those. If I wanted the Mac version, I would use the Mac. So I don't know. Let me know if you actually want the Docker Desktop for Linux, because it's available now. Now, this also means that if you use the Docker Desktop for Linux, you'll be under their terms of service. So you'll actually have to pay for it if you're a large company. So I don't actually see large companies that run on Linux flocking to this, because it will be expensive. But it's there, it exists, it's out there for your consumption. Right on the eve of Kubernetes removing Docker shim. That's coming up in the newest release notes. My release notes are coming. I know Docker 124 was released. I know you're thinking, Merrick, where are they? They're coming. Hold your pants. I think they're coming this Friday. I think they'll be released this Friday. That seems reasonable. It would have been reasonable to have them out like 2 weeks ago, but I figure there's no rush. Nobody jumps on 124 right away. So there was no reason for me to rush. I'm going to do them right, or try to do them right, and you guys can have them a few weeks after they're actually released. Thanks for watching this Null Byte. If you enjoyed this, go ahead and check out the links below for my other content that I release. This was a small bite of the weekly show that I put on every single Monday morning around Kubernetes, tech, and cloud news. See you next week.